town has a ghost story that's been passed down through the generations. But what if those legends were true? My name is Miranda Young, and I'm the Ghost Biker. Hey everyone, happy Thursday and welcome back to the Ghost Biker Garage. I am your host, the Ghost Biker, and we're going to be spending the next hour talking to two amazing ladies that I have been so excited to have on my show. I met them a few years ago. Actually, I guess it was about 2 years ago up at St. Albans at Enigma Cons. And I've just been wanting to have them on my show since. So I know they're very busy. I'm really appreciative of them taking the time to come on tonight, and we'll get to them shortly. But I just want to say how excited I am about that. So here we are. We're back here at the Ghost Biker Garage, the quickly getting empty Ghost Biker Garage, hopefully soon transition into a new area as I prepare for my move closer to the historic Scott County Jail, about 2 hours north of where I'm currently at. Getting very excited to get moved out of here, get the house on the market, and get moved into my new farmhouse. Want to say hello to a few folks who are on here tonight. Hello to Dr. Sumner. Thank you so much for tuning in. Janet Alms, Lori Yaney. Thank you all for taking the time to come on here tonight. Ronnie Anderson, another person that I met there at Enigma Con there at St. Albans. Very excited about that. We'll go ahead and kind of mention that's going on. I know last week there were a few tickets that were left for Enigma Con. Those tickets sell out very quick. This is April 22nd and 23rd there at St. Albans Sanatorium in Radford, Virginia. Got a lot of great people that are going to be speaking at this event. And if you've never been, I highly encourage you to go. Enigma Cons is just a wonderful paracon. We had Ronnie Anderson on the show. I guess it was a couple weeks ago. Well, actually, it was probably about a month and a half ago. We had him on, and he told us about what they do with New Bedford Paranormal as well as with Enigma Cons. So definitely encourage you, if tickets have not sold out yet, to go ahead and get on there and get your tickets. Also, we're very, very quickly approaching. I want to make sure to get this pulled up. We're very quickly approaching the Paracon, almost a month from today. It's going to be on March 24th and 26th. The Haunting at the Mill Paracon it's the Haygood Mill Historic Site. It's in Pickens, South Carolina, and this is the first annual Paracon that they're having there. So your VIP tickets there, it will get you a 2-night investigation. It'll also get you a spot to camp at, as well as you'll be able to sit and listen to some of these really cool speakers that they've got lined up for that event. So I know they've got a lot of different things that I haven't even mentioned. I think they've already sold out of vendor spots, but I know this is one they've been working really hard to push and really hard to get out there, because all the funds goes to the Haygood Mill Historic Site. And that's what we love about all of these different locations and these Paracons, is that the money, if it wasn't for these events, these locations would really struggle. I mean, it's a big challenge to keep these locations open and keep them running, preserve them historically. And these Paracons and the paranormal investigations truly help this. So definitely, if you haven't gone on there and got your tickets to that event or to Enigma Cons at St. Albans, definitely want to go and do that as well. So a lot of cool things going on at the historic Scott County Jail as well. We're wrapping up February here. We're wrapping up our After Dark flashlight tours, as well as our guided ghost hunts this weekend. We've got a great paranormal team coming out of East Tennessee that's going to be investigating there. We've got a flashlight tour on Sunday night that we still have a few tickets left open for. And then on Friday night, I think we've got escape rooms and flashlight tours available that you can still get tickets to. So definitely go check that out at www.historicscottcojail. Thank you, Dr. Sumner, for plugging that address in there. That has all the information on there, and we're very excited about that. Also, if you want to book a paranormal investigation there, we've got dates open through the remainder of the year. Those dates during September and October, they go really quick. We opened those a few weeks ago, and definitely encourage you to go ahead and get on there and book your tickets. So if any of you guys, you know the drill. If you have a question for tonight's guest, I ask if you don't mind, please put them in all caps over here on the side, just so that I don't miss you whenever we're talking. That way I can definitely make sure to go and pull that up. So if you ask a question and we're in the middle of a conversation, don't worry, we will definitely get to your question. I just like to wait till there's like a kind of a lull or pause in the conversation so that it doesn't distract our guest, and so that we're able to fully concentrate and focus on your question. So I'm going to go ahead and get into tonight's guest. I'm just going to do a brief introduction because, I mean, like I said, these ladies are busy and they're doing a lot of different things. So if you didn't read the introduction for tonight, I'm just going to kind of skim over that real quick. But these ladies, we've got Miss Pat O'Keefe as well as Misty Connor of the Connor sisters here with us tonight. Both of these ladies are descendants of the mystics of the mountains, Appalachian granny women, and have a number of gifts between them. Each of them are trained as Reiki masters who use this and other gifts in their energy and spiritual healing sessions, as well as in their gallery readings. Other gifts include psychic abilities of the 4 C's, as well as mediumship, dream interpretation, discernment of the soul, and astral projection. O'Keefe is a certified consulting hypnotist trained through the National Guild of Hypnotists. She focuses her professional practice, the hypnotism of memory recovery and past life regression. Ashley, Misty, and Pat are featured in a new documentary, the Season of the Witch documentary film, now streaming on Amazon Prime, Horror Max, and Vimeo. A book that they co-wrote, Spells and Stories from the Sisterhood of Magick and Wonders, is also available for sale on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other outlets. We will make sure that throughout the conversation, I'll be posting links so that you can go in, watch some of this, as well as purchase any of their books. They are a new book that they have coming out, The Appalachian Granny Witch Magick, is set for publication in 2023, and an oracle card set featuring their likeness is set for publication in 2023 as well. So these ladies, like I said, extremely busy. I'm going to let them really kind of dive in. And if you've watched my show in the past, you'll know that one of my favorite things to talk about is Appalachian heritage, as well as the folklore and, the different stories and stuff that go along with those traditions. So I'm excited because we're going to be covering some of that. So if you will, help me welcome Miss Misty Connor of the Connor Sisters and Miss Pat O'Keefe. Hey, ladies.
Hi.
Again, thank you all so much for taking the time to come on and talk with us. I know you all are extremely busy. So why don't we start with each of you just introducing yourselves and kind of talking about how this partnership formed with you as well as the Connor sisters.
Misty, you tell a better story than I do. You start.
I don't know. Like years ago.
I think her mic is cutting out or something.
Is my
Your mic's cutting.
okay? Can you hear me?
Now
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Is it good?
Let's see. Let me try that again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. So years and years ago, I mean, this is way back when. You might have heard of place called Major Graham's Mansion. It was on Ghost Hunters. It was Moonshine Madness, I think it was the episode. But we were helping the group there. We were like one of the local groups there that would help. And Pat came in and she was doing some writing. You were doing it for a magazine, I think it was, Pat. And we got to meet. That was years ago. And then throughout history, we would just cross. Our paths would cross. And she'd always be like, y'all are witches. And we'd be like, no, we're not. And then we see her again. She'd be like, y'all are witches. We were like, no, we're not. And then eventually in about 2015, Pat, you had Hearts and Spirits. It was a convention. And when she did, she was like, listen, ladies, get your stuff together. We're going on the road. And we were like, what? And literally we studied and all kinds of stuff. And then we just took it on the road. And even if our paths, kind of forked a little bit, they found their way back. So now the cool part in that though is Pat's just been trucking along. I mean, she's just been on her path, man. But we've just been weaving in and out of that path. But the cool thing is the time that we have been apart, we really were able to like focus our energies and get ourselves together. So we're able to take this on the road. And if you've never been to something that we've done, I don't want to toot our own horn, and I'm really not doing that, by the way, but it is different. And anybody who's been there can really tell it's different. We've been told that it's different. And the three of us collectively, me, Ashley, and Pat on that stage, we all pull differently. So it's something different. So what do you think, Pat?
I think you covered that beautifully.
And you, Pat, you have like you have quite the academic background.
Oh Lord, yeah, yes, I do. I worked in higher education for 32 years of my career as a journalism teacher and also as a college administrator. And yeah, I've been to a lot of universities. I've got a master's degree. I've done postgraduate work at 4 different universities, including Radford, Virginia Tech, and George Mason, and there's another one floating around. So yeah, a lot of education.
Well, and I have to say, and really echo what Misty was saying about things being different, because I had the pleasure of meeting you guys 2 years ago, and your reputation precedes you, because I've always heard anyone that has either worked with you all or come in contact, there's just this amazing energy and connectivity between you all, and just the positivity that you bring. I mean, I gotta say, it's like as soon as you guys walked in that year, I mean, you have this presence and just the personality and the fun that you bring that really goes a long way, especially in the paranormal community that can kind of really be overshadowed by either a distressing or more darker type topics. You all really bring the light, and I have to commend you for that.
Well, thank you. That is one of the best compliments I think we've received.
That is.
Well, you're.
Oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead. I was just gonna say you're welcome.
You're right. A lot of people think in the field that you have to be all gloom, and while we probably do have our times for like that, but
they laugh at me because my nickname is the Reaper, because I'm a medium, and so when people would come to see me and they would cry, my daughters were there when they were little. They looked at me one day and they said, "Mommy, you make people cry." And I said, honey, these are tears of joy. So when they got a little older, one of them looked at me one day and they said, Mom, you're like a Reaper. I'm like, and it stuck. So it's my nickname.
Well, and Lori says that Pat has a huge hand in an award-winning reincarnation series coming into fruition.
Yeah. Yes, actually, Lori is the author of that, and she has a really interesting story, and I had the opportunity and the honor to be able to channel for her, and so she has used part of that in this book, and it was a journey for her through really many lifetimes with, we call them soul groups, people that we come back with, right, time after time, and this is, her soul group, and the people, one in particular, that she meets in almost every lifetime. Wow. It's an interesting book. Yes.
Very interesting. I need to have Lori come on and talk about that as well.
Yes,
and especially as it's getting ready to come out. That would That would be wonderful. And she also says it never would have happened without Pat, that you're absolutely amazing.
Love you too, Lori.
So as I had kind of alluded to, talking about, Appalachian granny witches and such, we were just kind of talking before the show about where we're from. What, and just in case some of the folks here haven't heard you guys or follow you guys, why don't you tell us a little bit where you're from, and is this something that you were essentially born with, that you grew your abilities, or is this something that you learned later in life?
You get that one, Pat.
Okay, I'm going to get this one. And she's laughing because this took some heat. My definition of a witch, okay? My definition. Okay, let us start like this. Anyone can pick up a racket, right, and play tennis. Just about anyone. I won't say anyone, but just about anyone. And then there are those that are born to it. I mean, they just have the physicality, the mentality, the endurance that they play the best tennis. And I subscribe, my definition of a witch is one who is born with the ability to manifest part of their reality. And
Okay.
they usually have a very strong connection with the elements in spirit. It's like you're born with an awareness that other people may not have. It doesn't mean that you cannot practice. It's not that you're being cut off from that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying simply people like myself, like Misty, like Ashley, we are born and literally start having things happen that are out of the norm. Let's put it like that. My first connection with a discarnate spirit was watching my mother's astral projection, watching her spirit float into the room and into her body. That is my first memory. And then it was go time from there. So that's what I'm saying, is there are some people that are just born with these gifts. And there's no putting it into a box. It just won't ever go into a box. You can't ignore these kinds of gifts. And yes, we do have the ability to manifest, and I say some of our reality, because the truth is that sometimes there is a part of a path that we were meant to travel regardless, or something that we are doing in this lifetime that may be painful. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we can't take that out of our way. But there are things that we do manifest into our life, many, many things. So, Misty, do you have anything to add to that?
That was good, Pat.
Yeah,
She's very good.
I learned from I said this in the documentary, and of course, everything is cut, as you know. And so the only thing anybody heard was, you had to be born a witch. No, no, no. There are some people who are simply born to it. And we are descendants of what they call Appalachian granny witches. So it's in our bloodline. It's literally in our DNA.
It is. And the cool thing is and we kind of brushed on this a little bit before we came on, is it used to be a shame to be Appalachian. It used to be a badge of shame to be, they automatically assumed you were poor and you were ignorant if you were here. And all of a sudden, somebody woke up and realized people are really intelligent in these mountains. So now they're like, wow, let's jump on the train of this. And they're really looking back at their lineage, where it's something that we've had to hide for years. Like, oh no, do you know that the county that I live in, I live right on the edge of, they chose not to be in the Appalachian because they didn't want their city to be, it's Roanoke, to be thought of as poor. So every county around, I'm talking about Craig, Botetourt, all of them are in the Appalachian, but that little place didn't want to because they thought that it would hinder their business. This is what we're talking about. Back in the day, if you had that title of the Appalachian, automatically they thought that you were poor and you were ignorant. Now this new era that's stepping out of these people that are descendant from these strong-willed people, because you got to understand, they came from other countries. These people that were in the mountains, they chose it because it looked exactly like what they came from. And now these strong, educated people like Pat, with her, all her educations and all the things that we are doing in this field, people are realizing, whoa, these aren't your normal. Yes, we can be very country and we could be very raising, if you put us in. But if you put us in the most intelligent atmospheres and we are setting up there, we can hold our own, because it is something that pride is something that's bred into us, and intelligence. We had to find our way. And you probably understand this too, honey, because you're right there with us.
Mhm.
And you understand this culture that we have.
Well, go ahead, Miranda.
No, go, please.
No, I was gonna say this whole idea of pride. It comes in so many ways. It's like, and I know they grew up the same way, but I remember having one pair of shoes and the sole was like off the shoe, right? So I had to drag that foot. I was like, 14 years old. I wasn't old enough to get a job yet, or at least where I was, and. And so I'm dragging my shoe, and I will never forget this. This teacher looked at me with such sorrow in her heart. And I remember looking at her like, why? Because we had so much pride. And
Yes.
another thing too, Amanda, and I know you heard this, you had to take your part for your family, right?
Yes.
Cowards were not allowed. It's like that Scotch, Irish, and we were as focused on being brave and having that solid heart for family as any Viking ever had. It was family, and it was taking your part for your family. Never shame the family.
That's very true. And reputation of what those folks that were in your family, the lineage brought forward. I mean, you carried that on. And I think that's why we have so many interesting customs and stuff today. I think that the conversation, people always talk about East Tennesseans, how they can sit and they can just talk your head off. I think it's the same way with a lot of people in Appalachia. They're proud of those stories. They want to be heard. And I think too, and I'm really kind of interested in this aspect of it, because the Appalachians are so different. All the regions of the country, the folks that come from there. Do you think it's because there is such a huge mix? Everything from the Christianity aspect of it to the European pagan, the Native American spiritualism, because there's such a combination, the Scots Irish. Do you think that it's like that because there's so many that have come together that makes this whole thing unique, and why we do have such interesting and unique stories that come from out of here?
I will tell you, the late, great Rosemary Ellen Golly once told me, she said, Pat, there's so much activity, in the West Virginia and Ohio area because of the ley lines. There's the power grid of the world goes right up under it, and it's like all these crisscrossing. So there's a lot of power there, but also, and Missy will talk more about this. But if you go to Pocahontas, Virginia, there was a horrible mine accident that happened, and I forget how many, it was over 100, I think, men died that day. And if you go and look at the graves, they have Italian names, they have Polish names, they have, Jewish names. I mean, if you look at it, it's like looking at a melting pot of the world. And you realize that yes, Scotch Irish were, they were the bigger number. The influences came from everywhere, including Africa. I mean, from everywhere. And I think you're right, Miranda. I think that there's this talk about we talk about a melting pot and a beautiful blend. It was seamless because we had to survive, and we depended on our neighbors, and we didn't care what they looked like. We didn't care what their last names were. We just cared that we helped each other make it through another winter.
Absolutely. And Chris Sumner here has a question. She says, but like tennis, do you feel that practice to perfect or understand, i.e., did you innately understand your gifts in the beginning, or is this something that in time, as she says, that you kind of had to practice or perfect?
I will be honest. I was very lucky, Chris, in that I had a mother and a grandmother that had their own gifts. It's been handed down, and so when I was having all of these things happening to me, they understood, and so I was able to get direction. Now, have my gifts gotten better? Of course, over the years they have, and Maybe practice makes perfect. I mean, I'm sure Serena and Venus would not be the tennis players they were if they didn't get out on the court and do the work. So yes, but I did innately understand that I was connected in a way that maybe others were. Misty?
Ours was a little different. We grew up, and that to understand a witch, it would have been on TV. And my mother loved Wizard of Oz, right? So we always got to watch it. So that to us was different. But our granny can come in and take some tobacco or snuff out of her mouth and spit on it, and that was a healing. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, and
Absolutely.
in when we were at Christmas, because it was last Christmas, and we were getting together the stuff for the book, and we were like, Daddy, can you tell us more about our lineage and stuff? And he turned around and he said, if we were to call ourselves witches in these mountains, we would have been hung, but we could be healers, because of course the difference between a witch and a healer is the only book. We have a grimoire and healers have a Bible. So you'll see a lot of the mixture of the Bible in a lot of Appalachian conjuring workings. But the thing of it is a lot of these people are practicing and they don't even know, because they think it's just superstition. Like they think of your rabbit's foot, your lucky horseshoe.
Horseshoe.
So your luck don't run out. This is forms of divination. These are forms of magic. So we were always had that. A bond between me and Ashley. We could literally, there you go. That's what I was.
Yep. Yep, those came from my grandma's house. Every one of them, from all of her overhaul of her doors, and some of them had the aluminum foil around it, and the others not.
I love that. All pointed up, weren't they?
They were to hold the luck in.
Ma'am, so many little things, and each when we talk about our practices, even though in our book there's going to be 4 of us talking about it, and you're like, oh, it's going to be the same. No, every one of it is different, because in each holler, and they didn't share as much as you think, because their superstition was if they gave away that gift to somebody else, it stopped working for them. So a lot of times you'll even see in our book, like there's certain parts in mine that I said, hey, you're going to have to do this yourself. I'm not going to tell you my prayers. Because I'm like, I need this to still work. But still, that's how it works up here. So Pat was really lucky that she got to embrace that more. We always were told, nope, you push that aside. That's, or my mama would say, oh, the devil's after you. There's certain things, like if you see snakes in your dreams, there's so many things, the devil's after you. So of course that's a big lineage here. And then when we got older and we were like, hey, I think we're witches, that was just like, whoa. And then the more you find out about your history, you're just like, that we're energy workers, we're healers, we're all this combined. And it's hard to take that term in this mountain. They would rather be a healer, or they'd rather be gifted the gift of sight. You will hear them say too, which just means that they do the same thing we do, but it's through more of a.
Absolutely. And, and you hit on a couple really great points on that, with talking about how it's different in each of the different hollers, as well as the fact that religion actually playing a part in some of that, because some of the spells, that, and they would never call them that, but some of the things, like when you were making bread and stuff, some of the things that would be said would have part Bible verse in it, and other. I can remember going to, and I need to talk to them more. I don't know if they really will say too much, but I can remember going to a guy who, he went to my church, and he was an elder in my church, and he went and he removed the warts. I had 3 warts on my hand, and he removed them, and he removed, I guess it was like, witching a wart off or something.
Yep.
But very, very religious, but it was a healing aspect. And from what I understand, he didn't know his dad before he was born. His dad had passed just before he was born, so he didn't know him. So that's what they always told us as to how he had that he could do. So that's always fascinated me.
It is. It's amazing. Like in these mountains, what you talking about? Fort Witch, and we actually found that out at Christmas too. We were like, Daddy, why'd you keep all this from us? And lineage, we found out that my dad was with his sister and they went to, okay, so in our lineage, it has to be passed down from man, woman, man, woman. And a lot of lineages aren't, it's just through women. Okay. But this one, my dad said, the wart witch, you have to be able to, the man, woman, man, woman. My grandmother was supposed to take that on from her Uncle Pete, but she, for some reason, supposedly didn't. But I've had people say that they did see her do it. But my aunt was taken to my great uncle's and he took it out. My dad saw that. So yes, definitely. Those are still in the mountains. We're still out here.
Yes.
We're pulling them warts off, honey.
Yeah, that's something that's always stuck with me. I mean, my dad was a chemistry and physics teacher, and he made, like little tinctures and stuff, and he would put it on there, and it might go away for a minute. It'd come back. But we went around the road to where this guy from church lived, and he was older. He was in his 80s, and he did what he did. And I can't remember completely. I can't remember if he used like a handkerchief or if he used the eraser of a pencil and rubbed it, said what he said, and then it was only within like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and they were gone.
My great grandma, when I was a little one, I was about 6 or 7, and she had a chicken bone. And she leaned over, I had this huge honking, board, and she whispered, she started whispering with this chicken bone, right? And she looked at me and she said, Pat, in 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, she said that wart would be gone. And it was.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it is amazing. And that's, when we hear the term magic, people do confuse it with what they see in the movies. And it's very different than that. But yeah, it can be day to day. I mean, day to day things.
Absolutely.
Like taking off a wart.
So let's kind of talk about the granny witch that you guys mentioned earlier. And just in case some folks on here don't know what a granny witch is, why don't you explain what that is and kind of how that ties in with what we're talking about?
A granny witch was a title. It was actually, it was an honor to be called a granny witch or a granny woman, because these were the healers of their communities. These were the women that they depended on. If you were ready to birth a baby, you would depend on them. They were the midwives. They were the people, as you mentioned, that would develop the tinctures to give, the potions to give people. They depended on them for their health and for their well-being. And they were also sages. They were the wise women of the mountains. And if you needed advice, you would go to a granny woman, right? And the thing is, you didn't have to be old. You didn't have to have this in order to be a granny woman. But you did have to have that magic. And you could be in your 20s. And it's a quick story, and I'm going to hand it over to Misty.
Please.
But very quick story. My grandmother was called to help birth the baby. And the woman was actually on the other side of the mountain. So she got her son and she got her things together and went over. And when she got there, she was furious because this man had left her by herself. There was no man to be found. But what was worse is that there was no food in the larder. I mean, there was nothing to feed this woman and her children. And so my grandma told her son, he was about 8 or 9 at the time, he went back across the mountain. He got a little bit of bacon and a few other things to make those people a meal. And so my grandmother birthed that baby for that woman, and then she fixed her a meal before she left. So that's the kind of things that these women did. And that's why they were so revered in their society.
Absolutely.
Also, people don't take into consideration how young these women were. Of course, they do turn into grannies as they get older. But I want y'all to think about this. This is a story of my great grandma. She got married when she was 13. Then she had about 6 kids. one right after another, right? So you're looking at a lady who's probably about 19 years old, and she's the head of a household. Most of the time, the men would either go off to do lumber or they would go to coal mines or something like that. Most of the time, that's what you had in the mountains. So now she's the head of the household. She's got to be the father, the mother, the doctor, all of it, because they couldn't afford and they didn't trust any doctors here. So they start learning how to do this. So some of these women who had been a young girl at their other house now were mothers, and they had this responsibility. So imagine, probably in their early 20s, these girls were learning how to heal things. They were learning how to help with birth and babies. They were learning how to raise these children. So people automatically think granny woman, she must be older. No, ma'am, that has to do with their education too. Sometimes some of the research I've really done on birthing the babies and things like that, one thing that stuck out to me more than anything in the world is that there was one article, because I was doing a lot of research, just digging up old articles of these midwives and stuff, because of course you want to learn and you want to educate yourself. And the one story was of this lady who said, I don't understand these granny women that show up. I don't know if it's really truly the things they're doing, because they would put an axe under the bed to cut the pain. They would give the hat of the man who impregnated her so she'd have that courage while she and his strength while she was delivering. Or the woman said, or was it just that her calming ability, her healing ability, her magic calmed that woman enough she was able to give birth? And that really stuck with me, because I realized that a lot that what we do now, we manifest and we do things like that, it has to do with that innate ability that we were doing way back when to calm these ladies and calm them through birth. Because without them, sometimes they wouldn't have made it. The mother wouldn't have made it. The child wouldn't have made it. So that's a big responsibility. And think about that. Some of these girls could have been 25 years old. That is ridiculous. So that's why we grew up hard in these mountains, and we grew up fast. And hopefully, we could just carry these traditions down. But I think that's where some of the magic was too. Her ability to calm and laying hands. We hear about that. So that's a little aspect into the Appalachian woman too, and some of our history that we come from.
Absolutely. And I mean, you guys nailed it when it comes to that, as far as the super, like a lot of the magic that also comes from the superstitions.
We love our superstitions in the mountains. I mean, I will tell you, yeah, everything has superstition to it. But I want to preface this by saying that we are caught up in a tidal wave of information, and it's worthless information. 99% of it is worthless information coming at us, and it occupies our mind. Our elders did not do that. They listened to the wind. They literally saw the grass grow, because they sat, when they had time to sit, they would sit on their front porches. They would pay attention to the animals. When I forget, I think it was the Boxer Day, they called it the Boxer Day tsunami. It was devastating. The locals, okay, on the beach, ran off the beach and got to higher ground, because they noticed that the animals were leaving. They were running from the beach, and then they saw the tidal wave starting to come, or the tide starting to come out. Guess who was sitting on the beach when that hit? Every, what we call first world person who was visiting that day.
Wow.
Because we don't pay attention. God talks to us all of the time, but we are way too busy to listen now. And our ancestors, when we talk about superstitions, they simply noticed things would happen. They noticed patterns in their lives and in other people's lives, and everything that took place around them. And I truly believe that, and not to wax about faith, they have a strong, unbreakable faith. And I think that part of that is because they were listening and heard God in so many ways.
Absolutely. I mean, I know that my grandmother, she was always, and there would be a constant conversation between her and my dad when to plant stuff based on the signs. She could tell whenever the first snow or frost was, or excuse me, the first frost was going to hit based on whenever the fog hit, and when if a storm was coming, if the leaves were turning up. I mean, it would be a constant conversation when you would walk and sit down on her porch, is she would either be talking about something she either saw that day or experienced earlier that week. And in a sense, sort of predicting things that were going to be coming with the seasons or the planning, or even what was going to happen to a family member.
Mhm. And just one thing, Missy, before you get started, because I know she's got something to say, but before she gets started, just, and that's, when we talk about witches, we're not Wiccans, okay?
Right.
Wicca is a totally different thing. We're simply women who are born, and we do have particular gifts, and one of them is connection to nature. And so we notice the cycle of life and death and of the seasons. And as you said, when to plant, when not to plant, when the moon is full. There are certain things that we would do, like bring out our jewelry that happens to have certain stones in it, and put it out in order to receive the rays of the moon. And if we want to start new endeavors, we would start during the new moon. Or if we want to cut off and move away from something, we could also do certain prayers and spells during that time of the month also. Misty?
And just so before Misty gets started, as you were saying, just kind of make sure to, or I mean, if you don't mind, tell the difference between Wiccan and witches, because I know sometimes there is a confusion and a blurred line.
Yes. Wiccans, how do I put this? They have the threefold law, okay, which means, be careful what you put out because you can receive it 3 times. Someone who's born a witch, we see magic as gray. It's how you use it. Now, we are white, and I hate using this because it's so modern culture, but we're white lighters, okay? We're white light workers. We
You get my
do.
answer.
Okay. Well, we basically work. We try to keep it light. We try to help. We try to, but I would have no compunction at all if somebody was coming at a family member or myself to put energy back at someone. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would not think about the threefold law because I don't think it applies particularly to me. It's being born with just a knowledge of what to do, and so I don't read like spell books. I have them. I find them interesting, but I really don't read them because I always know what to do, what to put together. It feels right. The time of the moon, the phase of the moon is very important in spell work. I work with energy a lot, which means I don't use herbs and I don't use crystals a lot. Although, gosh, I've got all kinds of them because I like them, right? But I can stand under the full moon and put a prayer into the universe and ask for something, just like anybody else, just like a Christian would during Mass on Sunday or during listening to a Baptist preacher. You're putting your intent out through words, and that's why words are so important. Is because they give the foundation to reality when you use those words. And anyway, I'll give it to Misty because she's been sitting so sweet and quiet. Go ahead, Misty.
Only time y'all gonna find me sweet and polite. No, that's right. A lot of people they want to say Wiccan. They automatically believe that when I say I'm a witch, that I'm a Wiccan. Honey, I'm that is a religion, and that is it is. They have their they beliefs and things like that. So I'm gonna you what most of the women up here, and when Pat says she's a white lighter, that means she puts out good. She does. But just like she said with the gray, you have this aspect up here in the mountains of an eye for an eye. We're gonna go biblical on you, right? You've all told that since we were young, eye for an eye up here. So a lot of these women, maybe felt, and men in these woods maybe felt that the only way that they could actually get, their point across, or they felt unjustified for some treatment, they're going to go to spell work. So people believe, oh, that's karmatic. There's things going on. You got the threefold rule, but when you're dealing with stuff for survival, or maybe stuff that's a little more intense, a great example is the Hatfields and McCoys. They didn't stop. They kept going, right? And that can happen also with some of these conjurers in these mountains. Um, Personally, me, I'm the type of person that I don't put out things like that. I normally push back, but I'm the type of person that if I have the ability to have something in my arsenal, that if something really bad happened, that I could, then yes, I stock up on that. So that's kind of like what you do up here, right? You prepare for the worst and hope for the best. That's some of the spell work that could actually happen too. Something else I want to touch on too, because you mentioned Reiki earlier in our write up, and we were talking about faith healers. A lot of times in these mountains, they're called faith healers instead of Reiki. All of us are Reiki masters, but I think, and I'm not going to speak for you, Pat, because you could say this too, whatever you would like, but we have that ability already. And me and Ashley, I know, took the class to understand pretty much the bending and and how we were using energy already. We just needed
Okay.
that certificate that we were doing it already. So a lot of times people are like, well, that's not what's from the mountains. We were already doing it. But if a certificate makes somebody who's sitting with me feel better, then I'm willing to give that to them. But the faith healing is a big thing in here too. You will see people put their hands on people, remove things. That's actually what I do. And Pat, you do also things like that. So, we do a lot of that back here. So that's just a big conundrum of all the things that we could do in these mountains. But being a Wiccan is not, I have never met an Appalachian witch. Who is that? Have you, Pat?
Not really. Here's another thing. Misty's right. I was staying away from it, but Wicca has rules. They have these rules, and it does look a little bit like a religion. Some people would argue that, but I mean the U.S. government recognizes it, right? But
Right.
witchcraft, being a witch, it is old. It is old. It's even mentioned in the Bible, not in a particularly positive light. But my point is, it's very old, and there are people again who are simply born through bloodlines with this disability. And some people call us, because a lot of us have like Rh negative blood, and they call us star children. We simply have a bloodline that can't be cloned. Rh negative blood can't be cloned. The biggest mass of Rh negative people are found in the Basque region between Spain and France. I think in the world it's about I think 8%. Anyway, it's a very small. Yes, there you go. It's a very small percentage. But anyway, so the craft is very, very old. Wicca is very new. And yes, they take aspects of the old religions, like the Druids and like the witches of yore, so to speak. But it's still a very new. It is witches. It just is. It's just who you are. And even if you're drawn to it, and you were born with the craft, and you were drawn to it, you are still a witch. And the more that you practice it, like she asked, the better you will get at it, no matter who you are. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so we actually have another question here. Chris asks, is there an even split of men and women healers, or do women have a greater propensity to have healing gifts?
I'll take this one right now.
Great
The
question.
reason I'm saying, okay, yes, women do. There you go, period. Yes, we do. Everything's about frequency. And I'm not saying all of us, okay? But if you will remember, and I'm going back, and we are going to own this, and I'll tell you why, okay, Miranda? Some people get very upset if you say the majority of witches, natural born witches and people who are natural healers are women. They get very upset about that. It's just the way it is. And we've earned that, because let me tell you, during the burning times, when they thought it was a good idea to drag people out of their houses and either burn them, hang them, or do other torturous things to them, 80% of those people were women. Usually women who did not have a man to speak for them. Usually women who may have been kind of an outcast to society. 20% of them were men. So so let's remember, women have earned their place, and sometimes it's been something that they've paid a price for simply having a power, or I hate to use the word power, a gift that someone, and here I go, I'm going to say it, someone who may have worn a clerical collar for a very old Catholic church saw as a threat. In fact, I've read that Joan of Arc was not executed because she was a witch. She was executed because she was a heretic, because she heard the word of God herself. She did not need a priest for that. And that in itself was enough to have her burned at the stake. So I'm over mine. So yes, Chris, that was an excellent question. And I will tell you my personal experience and what I've read and what I've seen. Yes, primarily women, although there are men amongst us. There you go. Misty, do you have anything to add?
Kind of all for that. There is a big push now with a lot of men saying, hey, I'm a witch too. I want to be credited for that. I want my place in society. And nobody's saying anything that is wrong about that. 100%. I have a son too. The lineage that I have the gifts should go down to my son. And of course, I've seen that, in him. I see these abilities in him. So, I can never discredit that at all. But all we're asking is, because there's such a large push of the male energy that is coming in, just honor the ladies that have came before you. That's all we're asking. Because a lot of times we're getting pushed aside, and it's all about, well, now you need to honor the male witch. And it's not that we don't honor you, honey, but we should be able to stand evenly. That's what we want. And we want you to honor what we've went through. And if you're a male, a lot of times that gave you a quick card out of the witch's, hot seat. Really, they were like, hey, that's a male, it can't be a witch. So, and if we were a little bit different, if we had a mole, if we had too many cats, if we had hysterics once a month, which now we find out is PMS and it's a normal thing. These are all things that, or if we had crops, let me tell you, there's some superstition behind crops too. You can't let a lady that is her time of the month in on your garden and it's going to kill everything. These are some of the things, like if she walked through and some of the crops died or something, well, she must be a witch. Or the biggest thing that history don't tell you is if they want your land and you are a woman, the quickest way to get rid of you is to call you a witch. And that is evident if you've ever went to the fairy plantation. That story is amazing. I suggest anybody check that out. And that lady lived like 7 years locked up without them giving her food so she could get her land back. So that's just a little story. Y'all got to dig into that. That's a great story. But I believe that we should honor both, but don't forget where you came from. Don't forget this feminine power that was behind all this and what we had to stand for. I know, Ronnie, you never see me so quiet. So that's my part. Pat, did you have something else to say?
No, just I liked what you said about sharing stage, and women have paid a price for this. They have paid a price, and you didn't see so many doors opening and people wanting to be a witch. Whenever the result of that, accepting that, would be hung or burned. And I will tell you an example. During the Black Plague, there were women who were actually killed because they kept cats, and the cats would kill the rodents in the house. Well, Black Plague was carried by fleas and rodents, right? So they didn't die. So they thought it was witchcraft. The reason these women, the women in the house and their loved ones didn't die, so they drove the woman out. It had to be witchcraft. I'm telling you.
Well,
So anyway.
and it's really amazing too, because one of the things that I learned when I went up to Salem and was going through the witches museum and stuff there, I was really fascinated that really the and you all kind of touched on this earlier, that midwives and stuff actually really came from that a majority of midwives were witches, and it was because they knew herbs and they knew spells, and like you said, they knew ways, they had that comforting and calming nature. And I thought that was really fascinating. That was something that I didn't know before I went up there.
Now, I would tell you something interesting about that too, about midwifery. All right, so it goes along. People are happy having their babies, women helping women. The men looked over there. Sorry, men. I'm not a feminist either. I love men balancing the universe and all. They did. They looked over there and said, "Hey, I can make money doing that." So they made it against the law. So guess who was the actual first replacement for a lot of midwives in certain areas of the world were butchers, literally the butchers. And they would use the same utensils that they would use when they were hacking a hog, seriously. And then they wondered why all of a sudden there was an explosion in certain areas of the world they used to call it child death bed. There's a combination there, but anyway, where you would die on the bed. Basically, you would get an infection and never make it out of that bed. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Very
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of tie that into. I want to share on the screen here this beautifully done. Recently, you all shared the cover of your new book that you have coming out this year, Appalachian Granny Witch Magic. Can you talk just a little bit about kind of give us a preview of what this is going to be about?
Misty, go ahead.
This is a collection of, I don't know, this is one of near and dear to my heart. I know that the first book we did, I loved it. It told our story, but this is something that people, if they don't know us, they're going to look at it. And the cover is beautiful. Pat did amazing on.
Yeah.
She really did, and it's a bigger, broader spectrum of people actually being able to be, you know, able to pick out our book and be like, hey, this is Appalachian Granny Witch Magic. This is awesome. So it's a bigger spectrum of who we're hitting with this, but this is our lines, each one of us. We tell a little bit about our history, just a little bit, and then we go into these spells. Each one of us have at least, what is it, 30 spells, Pat? We have 30 spells. There's some superstition, there's some lore. And really, it starts off, and we got a couple pages just about us and our lineage and these mountains, and then we go into things. I mean, there is all kinds of spells in there, all kinds of workings, and they can be very simple. I found that as my practice went along in my development as a witch, as a practitioner, as a conjurer, I really became more simple. Like Pat said, sometimes we can go out and say a prayer, because we are saying, when you do a chant, when you do anything and you put it out, it is a type of prayer. Whether you've got a Bible or whether you got like a grimoire in front of you, it's the same thing. And some of these are very simple, some of them are more intricate. And mine personally was more of everyday things. Like, if in these mountains my man left, what would I need to do to try to get him back? Because sometimes it wasn't about wanting the man back, but just needing the security income.
Right.
we know we know a lot of relationships like that stayed because, you know um and just stuff like that. Or it could be something, if you think that you've been cursed, or you think you've been hexed, or if you just want abundance in your life or something fixed in your life. And I love that about it. And each one of us, like we said, every holler is different in the Appalachian. It's every holler is different, how they conjure, how they heal, how they put their workings out, their charms, whatever they want to call it. So each one of us have in our chapters, it's completely different. So you're getting like 4 books in one. So I'm just very proud of this. I can't tell people enough. So Pat, what do you think?
It's. I think you'll love it. I mean, we do. This is just a work, that's close to all of our hearts. And we even have a chapter about cryptids, which Ashley is writing. Appalachian cryptids. So there's so much that goes on. People have no idea. We even have Bigfoot in our area. That's reported quite frequently. So yes. We have all kinds of creatures. We have magic here. We have superstition. We've got it all. Spells. It's going to be good. And one thing I just want to mention, because When Misty mentioned, using the Bible and using a grimoire, of course there are two different books and two different uses. But when you use, say, a phrase out of the Bible for magic, you're using that magical phrase like you would a phrase out of a grimoire, which is a book of shadows or someone's personal spell book. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Do you all have a date as when you're anticipating this coming out?
We should have this, but we should have this by the middle of April.
So maybe ready by EnigmaCon?
That's what we're hoping. We have probably 80% of this done. Mm-hmm. It's 80%, and so we have just a couple of more segments, and then an intense editing, and then we'll be ready to roll. Yeah. And also, we already have our cards. Can I show these?
Oh, please, yes.
Yes, we have cards ready to go. I'm going to show. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, okay. This is Ashley, and she's representing travel right here. Here's Misty, who's communication, which I think is perfect for her.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And then I'm the crone. I take that pride. Let me tell you, some people might not be happy with that, but I will tell you, being a crone has been probably the best chapter of my life so far. So,
nice. And where can people get those cards at?
Well, we haven't put them out yet. They should be out in probably the next month and a half. So when they're out, we'll put it up on our social media so people can know, when to get it. And let me show you just one thing, okay? I did these. These were my first deck. And I got to show you this one. Yes.
Oh.
This is my baby. This is my Anna. So I'm just shout out to any grandparents out there. This is my little granddaughter, Anna. And she and I actually have a fairy tree. I resonate quite a bit with the Fae and Celtic magic. And my friend, like I said, the late, great Rosemary Ellen Golly had written a book on fairy magic that really caused me to look at my heritage and really start delving into that particular type of magic. So.
And I've just got to say, the work that you guys put out with, because I saw the cards, I can't remember whose page I saw it on where you all had previewed the cards. You had showed, had a little picture of it. I've just got to say, your design work, your photography, coming from someone who's also a designer and a fellow photographer, you all put out beautiful product. And I can't wait to see the finished product on all this.
That's all back.
Well, Mariah, since you have been such a gracious host, when we get our cards out, I will send you. We'll make sure you get it back, right, Misty?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I definitely, and you have to make sure you sign them for me.
Absolutely.
And let's see, we've got a lot of great comments over here where people are really excited about everything that you guys have coming out. If people want to follow what you're doing, I know we've got a lot of locations that they can follow, because again, you all are extremely busy. I know the Connor sisters with their great TikToks and videos that you all put out, and Pat, absolutely right there. Is there a spot that I can pull that up online here?
Pat's gonna give away our secrets right there. That's a list I have for us internally. That is a list of, and some of but
I feel like state secrets now.
I know. Some of them, we're working on like that. That's just a rolling list that we have. If you notice how big that list is, that's just probably until about August or September, Pat? Like So we actually put lists out. I try to keep us like at least 3 to 4 months ahead in the things that we're going to be out at and doing. So I really, you got me reading and trying to talk.
Thank you, Ed.
Because Hallie knew us I'm talking about like about the same time with you, Pat, or a little bit later. Say how proud they are. But you know, it's the development, and we also give honor to Pat. I told her one time, I said, every time there's a big boom with us, you just happen to be here like to help us. And she's like, you're right.
Let me tell you something. I've told these girls, I'm getting older. I am a crone.
Oh,
Oh, quit. And one day, these girls are going to be, on their own, and they are so good. And believe me, you can ask them. I'm very particular about who I associate my name with, because all we have in this field is our reputation. And so I'm very, very careful. These girls are like my paranormal children. They are.
we actually have, she's just now taken the title, but we had it a long time. That's there you go, honey. Thank you. I don't know where you found that from, but thank you.
I like I said, you all have several different sites, and I remembered seeing something at least the January through May. So I wanted to make sure to be able to pull something up here so that people can see. But please plug away to where people can find everything that you all are doing, and then also some of these great events that you've got coming up.
Well, Misty, if you want to say anything about the book, this is Spells and Stories of the Sisterhood and Magic and Wonders. And one of the questions that we get all the time is our backgrounds, right? And so we do write about, our backgrounds. I mean, from the beginning, some of the things that happened to us that put us on this path, some of the things that we have experienced. I think it's a really beautiful book. We do have spells in the back. Is this not? There's one of them. Now, I will tell you, when we talk about manifesting, I have to use Ken. Okay, I am married. People laugh at me, but I'm married to a stunt. Yes. He has gray hair, but he is. But let me tell you what happened. I had gotten out of a 28-year marriage about 3 years before I met him. And so I was ready, right? Never go out. We tell people this. You cannot bring the right energy into your life until you're balanced yourself, right?
That's right.
You will draw like attracts like. So I lit a white candle and I put a little piece of pink quartz out. And I got down on my knees, because when you really ask from the heart, I don't care if you're Christian, pagan, witch, whatever, you better be humble and you better mean it. So divine energy. I said, would you bring into my life the right energy, the one that was supposed to be with me in this lifetime? 2 weeks later, I met this man, and we were not apart. And I never dated not one person other than him after those 3 years. Him. That was it. So that's what I'm talking about, magic, right? That's real magic. I'm sorry, because I was reading stuff like at 56, you have a better chance of getting struck by lightning. Yes, than finding true love. I'm like, oh wow.
See, that's why I've been divorced for 11 years and never remarried since.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Miranda, when you get the right, oh my God, my life is. Remember when I told you I was happier now than I've ever been in my life? He
Yes,
is like he's 80% of that, and the kids are 10%, and these two are the other 10%. Yep.
Amen. No, that's very true, because I mean, until you are, your true authentic self and happy with yourself, nobody else is gonna, get you to that point. It has to come from within. Otherwise, whoever you're with, it's just not gonna work. It's not gonna be fulfilling for either of you.
Exactly. But yes, magic works, people.
And that spell is in our book. I'm gonna put that.
The spell is in the exact spell, and I didn't hold back on that particular spell. But you do have to be balanced. That's the number one thing, and ready for it. If you're not ready, whether it's 11 years or 3 years, don't do it. Do not do it. you'll bring the wrong energy and you'll be in the same old hot water you always were.
Exactly. And so I'm going to make sure to put the link to the book that you have, and that can be purchased on I guess where all major books can be purchased online.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
yes. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all of them. Target,
Yeah, Target, even the Walmart.
even in the Wally world.
There you go. And like you said, as far as these are just kind of a sampling of some of the
Yes,
Right,
places that you're going to be through May.
yes.
right. We have
And
event
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pat. We have an event coming up this weekend, and that is with Lumeri Productions. I hope I'm saying this right. I'm telling you, I'm horrible at names. So if somebody's on here and I'm not saying it right, then please, correct me. But it's with Ray, and it's going to be at the Central, I think, High in Goochland. I'm excited about this. I'm going to tell you something we're doing for this. And normally when we do seances, it's $50 a seat, at least, right? Because
Yes.
they're pretty intense and some stuff comes through that's cool as crap. Like as a person, I do my part and then I watch and I get to watch y'all hearing this stuff too. And it's entertaining. I'm just gonna let y'all know how cool this is. So we actually are going to do a seance that's included in this, no extra charge. So that is something that's very unique that we haven't done in probably years. Has it, Pat?
No,
Yeah.
no. I've never done a free seance. So I've never, no, listen, they're intense and like we channel,
Yeah.
and especially me, I tend to channel. And so when you're channeling, that's a whole different level of energy expenditure, right? And you're exhausted. And think about it, $50. We keep our things so affordable so that everybody can experience it.
Right. So it's going to be kind of neat this week. I'm excited to see how it's going to go. There's going to be investigation. There's going to be the whole team is going to be there from all of the Flumeri, I think, and our team. So I'm really excited. It's the first time we've met with them, so I know that it's going to be great and stuff like that. And then we have some cool stuff coming. Not to mention a Nick time. We can't say that enough. That's at St. Albans, a place that we love. Some other things
Mhm.
that we're going to be doing is the Universal. Oh my gosh! If y'all never went, y'all got to go to that. That is in Kentucky. That's in the top part of Kentucky, and then also the Sacred Journey. Oh my goodness, these events out there, they love people who are metaphysical. You will find in the Bible where we're at. Sometimes we've got to really push hard to get
Mhm.
people to recognize what's going on. That we really do because sometimes they're still. I mean, we're in the Bible Belt. They're still in the shadows. These other people, I'm telling you, they are embracing it. Like, come on out here to Cincinnati, Ohio. Come on out here to Kentucky. We're ready for it. So it's an amazing energy when we go to these things. So that's some of the stuff up, and we are so excited about it. Pat, what's your favorite you're excited about on this list?
All of them. All of them. I love them. I give love equally. I am really excited. I have to admit, I'm really excited for the ones on this list for Cons and because that one's near my heart. I mean, those people, it's St. Albans and it's just a beautiful place. And I wrote a book about St. Albans because I loved it that much. And its operating director, Marcel Hanauer, is just a beautiful soul. So is Tracy, her right hand. There's beautiful people there. And then, of course, Universal Energy Expo, I'm really excited about because I've never done it. This is my first year, but I've heard so many beautiful things about it from the Conner sisters. So I'm excited about that. But all of them, of course, Fairy Plantation, unfortunately, they're on their own. I'm going to be traveling to Montana for 3 weeks. So I'm going to be out of the area, but I know that they're going to do great. Yeah.
Hey, awesome. Have you been there, Miranda?
I've not. No.
Oh, they're having a Paracon, and I think they're inviting all kinds of people out there. If you get out that way, the place is beautiful. It's amazing, but also the stories and the lore, and they dunked a witch there. They ducked her. That's the and
Wow.
oh man, the story behind it, oh my gosh, I love the story because it's really going close to us. She was a farm girl. She got herself
Okay.
undone, swam around, and then cursed the town. Was like, I curse all y'all, and it happened. We're like, she really is a witch. We need her land.
but
The coolest part is they locked her up for 7 years, and they thought she's going to die. And when they opened that door, 7 years, she was alive. They were like, well, God, we got to give her stuff.
Right. Right. Those powerful Appalachians, you know.
I you.
Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. And so folks definitely need to go check out Pat O'Keefe's page. They're on Facebook, the Connor sisters, Misty and Ashley. Anywhere else that I'm missing that folks can go and like and follow?
I think that yeah,
TikTok, you're on TikTok.
yeah, you
Yeah.
can think that.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, we do have the sister that most of us are located right at and stuff like that. Like if people, focus there and stuff like that. So we do have that one, and we do date that one, by the way. And it's just so crazy to get us all together at once. Like Pat was mentioning before, we have like Ashley's not here with us tonight because go to work. And I got to tell you something. She's the hardest working one I call. She's right there beside us in all this, plus working like 60 hours a week. I mean, she's crazy. And then Rhonda has so many things going on too. So it's hard to get us all in one place, but it's like scattered cats, honey. It's like herding. But you tell one of us, we try to tell all.
And then one other thing too, let's mention Season of the Witch, because it is going to be, yes, we cannot forget Season of
Gary's
the Witch.
we don't
He'll tell us all now.
Oh my God.
Season of the Witch is a documentary about modern day witchcraft as told through our eyes, and so it's really interesting. We do talk about Salem, Massachusetts, but we also talk about witchcraft in the new century and also across the world, and the price that practitioners have paid in the past and that they continue to pay as practitioners of the craft. And so Jerry Sword is the director of this film, and then we have Keeley Films. Terrell Lee is a brilliant young cinematographer. He's actually finishing his degree at a university in Los Angeles that specializes in film production. And so he has a Facebook, and so does Gary Sword. If anyone is interested, you can see it he's got it on, is it TikTok that he's on? That we've seen so many things, and then also on Facebook. So you can see a lot there. And if you check on it's Jerry's website. Yes.
There you go.
Season of the West. There you are. So you are so good. So here we go. Yes, you have saved us, Miranda. You have saved us. Yes. Thank you. But there you go. So I hope some of you will check it out. Go ahead, Missy.
Exactly, like Pat said, and we're just looking for people. There's a lot of things on with that we can't talk about, but we're just part of it, So we're hoping that there's some good things that are released coming up or stuff, and we're just really excited about it. Aren't we, Pat?
I am. I am. Yeah.
And like I said, beautifully done. Beautiful. I mean, anything you guys put out, whether it be the videography, the cinematography of it, and the story that that this documentary tells, I think that it's very cool how you guys put that. And again, everything from your cards, from your book design, that sort of thing, just beautifully done. People will not be disappointed by what you're doing if they go like, follow, and subscribe to your individual pages.
And Miranda, can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
We talk about magic and how magic is just on the daily. It's simple things, right? Like love or health or just things that can be big if they're out of sync. But this, at the very first of this, he shows an old farmer and his son So here we are. I'm going to let you tell it, but let me set it up. So we are at this, you can tell, this old graveyard on somebody's farm that we didn't realize was, we were thinking it was somebody's farm. So here we are. Look at the old truck in the background. See the old man and the son. Okay. So we're standing there, and all of a sudden we see this old truck hitting this, hitting the gravel road. And I mean, he's hitting it so hard that parts are flying off. And he stopped right in front of us. Now, he gets out of that truck and he slams that door. I'll never forget. I'm like, oh boy. So I'll never forget. Everybody just froze, right? Because here we are. We look like witches. We're all in black. We have all our witch jewelry. And here's a farmer ready to shoot all of us. Part of his family graveyard. And I will never forget. I thought, we take care of this. And it's like we just changed the energy, didn't we? We changed the energy. And it was like this. Yeah, well, I started, but everybody's energy just calmed him down. And if you'll notice, not only did he calm down, he took us to a second graveyard on another plot of land that he had.
Nice.
That's magic.
We call it, don't hold this against it, but we call Pat's and Magic, because at the end of this, he was picking stickers off of her. He was like, let me get these stickers off of your dress that you've got these briars on. Yeah, we were like, Pat, you got an old man magic, man. You give her a gentleman, an old magic that we did. This woman transforms from, I'm going to tell you, to, yes, how may I help you? Like,
but that's magic. People expect sparkle. It doesn't work that way. It's simple things like that. And let me tell them about Terrell.
Oh my gosh. So me and are behind the tree. Okay. Like this tree's here. He comes running up and there's these graves in the middle of the man's property. We're all dressed in black, like Pat's saying and stuff. And we're like, the jig's up, man. We gotta go. Because I'm like, I can run to them woods over there. Like, how fast I said, like, I felt that man's body. He went, and I was like, oh God, like I could feel it. So I got in the car with them and I said, listen, ladies, that boy was about ready to run. And they were like, no, he's not. I said, listen, I think in his mind, here he is underneath the tree with all these middle-aged women. And he's got a camera and he's a younger, attractive African-American man in the middle of this field. And I'm like, I know that man was about ready to run. This old farmer rolling up with his grandkid and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I felt him. He was like, I'm getting out of here if they start shooting. Like, I felt in his body. And I'm telling them, they're like, nah, he didn't think that. He didn't think that. So when we got back around, I said, did you think they were going to kill us? He said, yes, I was ready to run. Like, I knew. I was putting my shoes on. I was about ready to like, in the South, there are still some hard parts. That's all I'm saying. And we thought we were going to be just like, that man came flying nowhere and was like, I was like, oh my God, we're going to die. But it ended up really good. Like Pat said, she worked that old man magic. Next thing you know, he's going other places. He's getting the cuckleberries off of her bread. Like, man, it turned out really good. And you can see from the promo, it was beautiful. Like
very beautiful.
Just beautiful. So it was really cool though. But I felt Terrell gave out an energy that I had never felt. Like I was going to run. Like we were running, we were gone. Because I mean, I would have been, I was scared. And here Pat is, she's like, hey, hi.
I mean, that's true magic right there. Dealing with some of these clannish country.
Yes.
Yes.
We speak the language.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And the first rule, stay calm.
Which is hard to do.
Honey, when he came out of that truck, he had his head lowered like an old bull. He slammed that door. I'm like, And we all of us, including me, just froze. And then I'm like, I can do this. It was, I will tell you something though, Miranda, this was funny. Our director, he said, he said, I was considering some other witches for this, but after y'all's performance back there, because those two were on it, man, as soon as I started to come, they were asking questions. They just kept everything calm. He said, when I saw y'all's performance, he said, nope, he said, I'm sticking with you all.
I know, man.
That's right, Ronnie.
I don't think any of us, we were like, like all of us, we were like, whoa, man, this is crazy and stuff, But yeah, it was pretty neat. It's one for the history book movie.
It is.
Sounds
really,
like it. And I love hearing the story behind it because everything is different once that camera starts rolling and what goes on behind the scenes. So yeah, definitely cool. People need to go check that out. We've got the links to that in the show notes. We've also got it over there in the chat room, as well as the locations that they're going to be visiting. So, ladies, thank you so much
Thank you,
for coming on.
Miranda. And we will get those cards to you when we publish.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot
And we'll
wait.
send you a copy of the book too.
Please.
We'll see you at Enigma Cons.
There you go.
Yes.
Uh-oh, now the pressure is on, Misty. We got to have that book.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, because normally I have all of my books over on my shelf behind me, and those are the ones I love collecting and reading about the folk magic, folk medicine, the stories of Appalachia, because those stories, even though we're such a vast nation and there are so many unique areas around the country, nothing compares to rural southern central Appalachia and the people that are within it. And so I love sharing those stories, sharing that lineage and those superstitions. So this has been definitely a special episode that I've really enjoyed chatting with you all about.
Well, thank you for having us, honey.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. And everyone, thank you so much here in our chat room for all of the wonderful questions that you've asked and for your comments and support. Definitely go on, check these ladies out, like, follow, and subscribe to their content, because as content creators, it's super important that we support them, as well as also just getting the word out, because there's a lot of time and effort that goes into the projects that as content creators that we're putting out. Next week, let me make sure that I'm telling the right guest. We've got Brandon Cooper. He's going to be coming on. He hosts Shaman Sundays, as well as he's one of the hosts that's putting the Paracon at the Mill there at Hey Good Mill, putting that on. So we're going to have him on talking about the Paracon, as well as talking about his show. I was honored to be a guest on his show back in early January. It was absolutely fun episode. He's also a fellow biker, so we love having other motorcyclists on here as well. So we'll be having him, as well as some other great guests coming up throughout the month of March, be talking a little more about Enigma Cons as well. So definitely want to tune into that next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So until then, I hope everyone has a wonderful and amazing week, and we will be seeing you all then. Thank you all so much.